Travis Wayne Goodsell. YouTube had led me to a video about the 5 most common sexual fantasies of women. And it's a small sampling. Only 1,000 to 4,000 people were surveyed. And it was done by psychos. But the thing that I found interesting is that fantasies are what are not culturally approved of, and that's why they're fantasies. And so, the number one fantasy is to be dominated by a man. And then the second one was threesome with another woman, man and woman. And so I was thinking, if they had surveyed Mormon women, their sexual fantasy would most likely be a monogamous marriage. Right? Found that funny. It is unfortunate that the majority of Mormons are not watching my channel. Just this morning, I had 25-year-old boys reappeared on my channel, but in small numbers. The majority of the people that watch me are the older generations beyond me. That's because they know, I'm talking to you, aren't I? You know the subject matter that I'm talking about. Even though you may disagree with it, even though you're members of the 70 who are narking on me to Nelson, you know the subject matters that I'm talking about. And so when I do get one of the younger crowd, it's usually to be attacked by them, because the church has used psychology to brainwash the youth to be dominated. Oh, I tied it in. Oh, my introductions have purpose and meaning? Oh, wow. You actually have to watch longer than the 2 minutes of the introduction? And so this is a dangerous thing, because we're in the latter days. This is what I've been going over with since 2017. And this is the final year of the latter days, and this is the bicentennial year of the day that shall burn as an oven, and they that come shall burn you. Yeah, Joseph Smith is talking about you, Mormons. And so, knowing that our religion from Joseph Smith, not from Brigham Young, is in the learning of the Jews, and thus I became an anthropologist of the ancient Middle East to know and understand what Joseph Smith was talking about. Because this church isn't giving any answers, and they're lying to us. And so, in my associative memory, I see the connection with the Exodus story. because the man like Moses is our Christ. So the Exodus is the prophecy of Mormons for the latter days, as Joseph Smith has told us it is. And the thing that happened was that the older generations of Israelites were killed off. And it's the younger generations of Israelites that went in to the promised land. And so knowing the key to decoding prophecy, as I did that video for you, how many of you are utilizing it? I give out all these keys that I've been given, and nobody wants to use them. They only want to look at my pictures or hear the introduction and be angry with it. And be offended because it was sexual. See, the older women are also not wanting to listen to me, as I'm just like one of their bratty kids. Get over it. You know, when you change interpretation, you change morality. And so, repent. Use the learning of the Jews, not Christian Jesus of Mormonism. And then you'll begin to understand me. And then you'll go, oh, I'm the one who's, being known. And so we've witnessed 2020 and COVID, and only those who got tested were included in the statistics. And we all came to find out as a nation that the elderly were first hit and hit hard. And because they weren't tested, they were not included on the death numbers, let alone the infected numbers. And so our numbers that we do have, which has long been shut down in tallying them up, at least the national one, Utah is still doing it once a week today. Anytime now they should be posting it. Most often they're late, and sometimes they have a Spanish speaker put it up in Spanish. But I still keep track of it. I've kept track of it the whole time. I have the statistics on all of it. I know that the main numbers on the main page did not include the elderly. The elderly had a whole separate tab later on when they got going. And so there's far more elderly that died than are reported. And because it's the latter days, and because the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is in control of the secret combination seeking to overthrow the government so that they can restore Zion, they were in charge of the deaths of the elderly. It still pisses me off that Nelson told Herbert over the pulpit of conference that it's his fault for shutting down the state of Utah, that he needs to hurry up and open it back up again. Just so wrong. And so that was the first wave of murdering off the elderly in this nation and in the church. And so now with the day that shall burn as an oven and they that come shall burn them, the elderly are going to be again most vulnerable depending on what kind of burning it will be. Whether if it's climate change that gets to 150 degrees, you walk out and instantly catch on fire. Or I had the NCIS spontaneous combustion episode earlier this morning, which was not a spontaneous combustion. It was the nurse or the doctor who botched the operation and tried to cover it up by murdering him. Poor ducky. And then, or if it's, a mob of people who hate the Mormons because they ban the Bible as porn, because nobody else is dying from reading the Bible porn. What's up with that, Holland? You said it was just like COVID. COVID kills. So porn kills? I'm not seeing any evidence to support that. But it makes for great humor. I put on a new customized screen thing on my Google Chrome homepage. And I was thinking in my head when I decided to put up the utopian pyramids with the medical doctor from Stargate after the explosion occurred. It was actually a meteor shower that blew, or no, I'd have to watch it again. But there was an explosion in the medical, whether it's because of the asteroids that were being flung to Earth by the replicators, or if it was an explosion from sabotage. I think it was more of the meteor showers when that occurred. She then stepped in to be the chief medical doctor. And so, I have no problem with a strong, intelligent, competent woman. I'm not into the 80s bimbo blonde. Never have been, but psychologists were working their magic on the nation. But I was thinking, maybe with the spying and the hacking that I'm having to deal with, maybe I should put a porn picture up there. So when the hackers are spying, the hackers be dying. Hilarious. So, and then other fires, lightning strikes. We've got that out of control fire, last I heard, still going on. And, nuclear blast. I did the video where I checked on that. Those are situations where the elderly are all going to be in greater jeopardy than those who are younger and fitter and more active. And so, I see what's coming as a danger for you guys. And it concerns me that many of your children and grandchildren are not coming to visit you as often as would be culturally approved. But, you did kick them to the curb back in the 2000s. There was an an epidemic here in Utah of Mormon parents kicking their kids to the curb because the kids were unable to get a job in Utah and get their own place to live, being unsympathetic to the economy and the government not regulating the economy properly. You blamed your kid rather than the government, which is run by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so, with the high evictions that are going on, there are a whole bunch more Utahns that have been kicked to the curb, not by their parents in this case, as the church was using the shelters to human traffic and torture unto death, as I was a victim of that and had witnessed it myself. And so, this is the prophecy. The elderly, my main audience, are going to be exterminated with the Holocaust that's coming. And isn't it interesting? It's a Holocaust. And so the younger generations of Mormons have been fooled into believing it's Jesus' church, that Jesus is real and their spiritual witness is real because psychologists of the church says it is. Oh my God. And so, it's very concerning. Nelson gets up and says, this is not the Church of Latter-day Saints of Joseph Smith. This is Jesus' church. It's his church because he's in control and he's our Christ. It's not Joseph, who is our actual Christ. You don't realize you're being anti-Semitic when you replace Joseph with Jesus. And you want to believe in unreal things rather than reality. And so, Joshua, we're finally getting to it after 18 minutes. Nobody's listening anymore. And Joshua is Jesus. It's the Hebrew word for it. This is the book of Jesus. Jesus in the Gospels is the man like Moses. Joshua, here in the Old Testament, is the man like Moses. It's the Jewish Christ. It's not Jesus, even though that's the name. The actual name is Emmanuel. All Jews would have known this when it was written. But Constantine screwed up everybody by making this literal history. And thus, as literal history, the people are real. It's their actual name. And thus screwing people up even more. And then you start denying science that says, this never happened. What are you talking about? And then you demand that the government step in and force science to accept this as real. They're already doing it with psychology. Psychology has been in the grade schools, brainwashing your kids to tell them that, if school stresses them out so much, then they should just stay home. And that the teacher should pass them rather than have a grading system for determining how good of a student they are, so that when they go to a college or a university, you can see whether they're a high honors student or They were just a regular student who got C's in class. There's a big difference when these kids are entering into the job market now. This is the younger generation of Mormons who have been brainwashed by psychologists in their schools for this. They are not educated, and thus they are worse in the job market. And it's screwing things up. Jobs need competent, educated professionals, not people who get sensitive when they can't figure out how to run a program at work, or they don't know how to add properly. And then they cry when you say you're not doing your job. What do you mean you don't know how to stock the shelves? I'm participating. I showed up for work. You have to pass me and pay me. And then you fire them, and then they sue you for firing them. God. This is Mormonism. This is the new generation of Mormons that your children have become. Your grandchildren have become. It's what the church did. The manuals were specifically designed for faith promotion and spiritual witness feelings. And so Mormons are literally stupid. And stupidity leads to hate, and hate leads to violence. And so, yes, I saw in the news, these Young Turks, I believe, an 11-year-old boy murdered his pregnant, soon-to-be stepmom. And so, yeah, there's lots of murders here in Utah. There's the one of the child who murdered his siblings and his mother as well. This is what happens when you don't properly educate a people. But that's a different subject matter. We're talking about Jesus, who is Emmanuel in this case. And the concern I have about the extermination of the elderly, because the elderly are gone. That's what happened at the end of the Exodus. When they were wandering in the wilderness, the elderly died out. And so here we have, now after the death of Moses, this is a brand new author. He had no part, at least as far as we know, and it doesn't match the linguistic pattern of any of the authors of the Torah. So we're confident that this is a separate author who's using the characters from the Exodus, Joshua, who went to spy in Israel and gave the favorable reporting back to Moses, whereas the ones who gave the unfavorable reporting died. And that's why Mormons are faith promoting, because they don't want to die and get struck down by lightning. You don't lie. Faith promotion is not to lie. If you have to lie, it's not faith promoting. End does not justify the means. But after the death of Moses, Moses here is Joseph Smith. And so it came to pass that the Lord spake unto the man like Moses, who is named Jesus, just like in the Gospels, the son of Nun, which is an Egyptianism. So I won't talk about it here. Moses' minister, saying, Joseph Smith is dead, now therefore arise and go over the Green River in 2020 to go back to Zion. There it is, using Joseph Smith's key code. I just summed up Joshua for you. Revelation 19 also talks about it. Joseph Smith also talks about it. His parable, section 101, starting in verse 43, Joseph talks about it too. It's the same. It's the same revelation. There are some differences. And so like, the Neum, Zenoch, who prophesy of Jesus. No, but yeah, it's that concept. Different authors, even though they're using the same stories to prophesy of the future, there are some differences. Like Samson, for example. Some major big differences. He gives us the day and the hour of his coming. Plus, where on earth it will occur. And there are just so many dumb hate comments. No, Jesus is coming to the Mount of Olives in Jerusalem. No. Mount Olivet, that's where my grandfather is. That's what it meant. Prophecies fulfilled. You don't even care to believe me. So, anyway. So, this is a weird thing here. Because the Mormons are answering the man like Moses, the Mormon, who is their Christ, to lead them in the Exodus. All that thou commandest us, we will do. And whithersoever thou sendest us, we will go. No, wherever you may go. There's a theme song in the description below. I will follow you. Okay, not sure what that title is. It may just be I Will Follow You, but make sure I get the right song. Be nice to get the movie version of the actress that sings that, but we'll see. And so yeah, Mormons aren't doing this. And so this is where it's time to go. The destruction has happened, and now it's time to go. Because Mormons didn't go in 2020, did you? When all of the prophecies of the Exodus occurred. Except for the 3 days of darkness, we only had the one. But it's in preparation of the one this year and then the one next year that finishes it off. But everything else, I parted the waters for you. Do you know how hard that was for me? Do you know how much flack I got for that? So, yeah, according as we hearkened unto Moses, no you didn't. You were constantly complaining and rebelling. Who is this author? Did he not even bother to read it? So will we hearken unto thee. See, and there's where Joseph Smith comes in. Verse 40. The warning. And they don't even reference it here. They can't. It would reveal too much. Whosoever he be that doth rebel against thy commandment, and will not hearken unto thy words in all that thou commandest him, he shall be put to death. Only be strong and of good courage. So let's finish it up with the hearkening part. So, after telling us that the Jewish man like Moses is our Christ, he says, the day had not yet come when they, that's you, Mormons, who would not hear my voice, should be cut off. That's from Micah, not from Acts. Because you checked this, didn't you? Do these videos for a reason. I don't read them in every single video. And so when I touch on them, when I mention them, you're already supposed to have the knowledge of what it means. And it's actually utterly destroyed. Put to death. By they that come shall burn them. So, it's sad that people think that all of these different scriptures are completely separated and isolated from each other because it's all literal history. Which screws you up even further than what you're already screwed up. See, once you start with a core falsehood, you branch off into like psychotic belief systems that have no basis in reality. And you end up being an enemy to truth, an enemy to science, an enemy to the people, as you demand other people accept your beliefs of falsehood. Demand that the government change the school curriculum. And then you rebel and you start banning books. Or banning the math book. Or banning anatomy books because they're porn. We'll kill our children if we read it. So, that's my concern, and I'm sticking to it.